So today I'm going to show you how to do the mega macro technique on the Elektron Syntakt, and it's going to enable you to do this. So let me go a little bit deeper into what was going on in that video and how the mega macro works. So the idea is that we have one knob, or in this case two, that are performance macros that control not just one track, but all of the tracks. And you might have seen my other Syntakt and PC4 video from last year where I used the PC4 and I had two performance macros per track. So 12 in total that covered all of the 12 tracks. This is taking that idea, but it's basically narrowing it down, so you've just got two different knobs controlling all of the parameters on all of the tracks. So let me just show you what I mean by this. If I mute all of the tracks and just leave that synth sound, and then we go into the setup and take a look at the modulation wheel, you can see when I bring this knob up, it opens up the amp reverb and also takes away some of the lower frequencies with the filter bass. So that's creating a build-up effect, very subtle. And then if we go into the breath controller, which is this one, so that one's doing the filter envelope, the amp attack, the amp reverb, and then it's just bringing the amp volume down a little bit to counteract that. Now, that's quite cool, but the idea behind this is that if we put on all of the tracks, both of these knobs now control bunch of different parameters across all tracks. I haven't calculated how many different parameters I'm affecting there, but I know it's a lot. So this is quite a powerful tool because you can affect many different parameters just from one single knob movement, which is great for live performance. So what I'm going to do during this tutorial is show you exactly how to set it up, how to set the Faderfox up, and how to map it in this particular setup, and then you can go away and try it out on your own setups. You can use a different MIDI controller as well. You don't have to use the Faderfox PC4, but I keep recommending this for the Syntakt because it just pairs really nicely with it, and it's a great controller. So before we go manipulating the settings and programming the PC4 and the Syntakt, the first thing I want to do is make sure we've got the cables set up correctly and also update the firmware on the PC4, maybe update your Syntakt as well if you haven't done that. I did cover this in last week's video along with a PC4 editor overview, so I will put a card up on the screen somewhere now if you want to go and rewatch that or watch it for the first time. Then come back to this video once you're set up and we'll continue from there. So before I take you through how to set up the Faderfox, let's just make sure we've got the Syntakt set up correctly. So you need to go into Settings, MIDI Config, Port Config, and then you want to scroll all the way to the bottom and make sure you've got Receive CC on. That's to accept CC messages from the PC4 or any other MIDI controller that you are using with the Syntakt. And then if you go to the top and just look for Input From, you want to make sure you've got MIDI enabled. You can just select MIDI, or you can select MIDI plus USB, which is what I have set up, so then I can use Overbridge or transfer files to and from the Syntakt. So let's come out of that, and there's one more thing I want to show you. So if you go into channels, you'll notice that this is set up very differently to how I previously had it on the last video. So by default, yours should look like this unless you've changed it. So it'll go all the way through the channels one by one. These are MIDI channels. What we want to do for this idea is we want to put everything onto channel 1. So when I say everything, I just mean the tracks. So all the way up until track 12. Leave the rest of it as it is. So effects, we're going to leave that on 13. These two knobs here, they are set up on 13, which is the effects control channel. So I'm just going to leave them as they are. We'll do that at the end, actually. I'll do that as a bonus. I'll show you how to set this up. Before we go to the Faderfox website and look at the PC4 editor, just want to quickly say, if you're interested in learning the Syntakt or other machines at a much deeper level, I've got mastery courses available. So we've got the Syntakt mastery course, which is 4 parts. So we've got the introductory course, which is absolutely free. If you want to sign up for that, the link is in the video description below. And then we've got the beginner, advanced and expert parts of the courses as well. I also do presets and sample packs, and there's some affiliate links below. All of these things help keep the channel running and helps me to create more free content for you guys. So much appreciate the support for everyone who's supported me so far, and I hope that I've been a good mentor for you guys to develop your creative skills. Let's head over to the faderfox.de website on the PC4 page and scroll down until we get to the PC4 editor. So this is the editor. I did an overview on this in the last video and I showed you how to work the editor and just basically what all of the different parameters are on the editor page. So we don't need to go over that again. If you want to recap, go back and watch that video. But for now, we're just going to crack on and continue with setting it up for this example. So first thing I want to do actually is just receive the data from the PC4. So I'm going to do this again. So if we go to the PC4 and press these 2 buttons at the same time until the yellow system light appears, it means that we can then input system options like this. So we can do send all, send current, reset, or we can choose different MIDI channels, which I'll show you in a second. So the thing that we want to do right now is we want to receive data from the PC4 so it shows up on the desktop screen here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to press receive from PC4 and I'm going to hold down this left button and do send all. So you just turn the knob all the way to the right like this. And once I let go, you can see the data is being sent over. It takes a little while, but once that is done, you'll see that it shows me on the screen in a second that it's received the data and it asks me if I want to apply it. So receive setup data for PC4, apply to editor. Okay, yeah, let's do that. So you can see this is now changed. And on this first page, you can see we've got the setup from the last video. So the channels go up 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 again, because these are in pairs, remember. So they're for track 1. And then you've got mod wheel is 1. And the breath controller is 2, and then we've got 2. Same again, repeats, but on different MIDI channels, all the way up to channel 12. On page 2, which is what I've got set up for this right now, you can see it's set up a little bit different, and I'm going to explain what these top 4 ones are in a second. But first of all, I'm going to show you how we can switch presets. So in case you want to set both of these up from the last video and this video, you can have them on different presets, and then you don't have to keep going in there and changing and loading these back up. So if we go back to the Syntakt, sorry, not the Syntakt, the Faderfox PC4, press those 2 buttons to get in system mode. And then if you hold the left one down, you can then turn a knob all the way to the right until it blinks. That means we are now on channel 1. Sorry, not channel 1, preset 1. So if we go to preset 1, we're now on this setup. If we hold the left button down again and turn the second knob all the way up until it blinks, we are now on setup 2, which is this one here. And now I'm just going to show you how this is set up and how it's different. So if you remember on the Syntakt, we changed all of the track channels to channel 1. So this one knob now is affecting all of those 12 channels, and CC1 is the mod wheel. So pretty straightforward. And then on the second knob, you can see channel 1 again, which is affecting all of the 12 tracks, but this time it's CC2, which is the breath controller. That is it. Really simple, really easy, much easier and quicker to set up than the last example. And then you can see I've also set these 2 up. So channel 13 was our effects channel. And I got these numbers, all of them, from the Syntakt manual. So if you want to look at the MIDI implementation section at the end, there's a table with all the CC numbers. If you want to basically program some different parameters that you want to affect, you can do it that way. So for this, you can see I've got channel 13. And then we've got CC24 and CC30. So let me just check on the Syntakt again to make sure I've got the right ones. So delay, let's have a look. So yeah, delay, I've set that up as this knob here for the feedback. So feedback is CC24. And then if we go to the reverb and start to manipulate this knob, you can see we've got reverb decay, which is CC30. So let's say we've just programmed this editor now. We want to send it to the Faderfox. All we've got to do again is press the 2 buttons till the system light comes up, and then we just click send to PC4. So let's hit that. And then it'll ask you if you want to send it. Let's press send. You can see on the Syntakt, we've got the data light appearing. And then if we look back at the screen, you can see it's sending data. So that is now done. And then we can come out of the system setup by pressing the 2 buttons again. And let's just test it and see if it works. So that one's working. That one's working. That's the feedback for the delay. And the reverb decay there. The next thing that we're going to do is we are going to take a look at each of the tracks in solo and look at the performance macro settings so I can give you some inspiration on what you could manipulate when creating these performance macros on the Syntakt. So let's just mute all of the channels and start with the kick. So I'm going to press track 1, go to the kick, and then I'm going to press function and sound to go into the setup modulation wheel. So let's just hit play. So we've got our kick, and then if I bring up the mod wheel, you can see we are opening up the filter base, which is on filter page 2. So this one here, that's opening up to take away the low frequencies. And we go back inside, you can see, I was going to add some filter resonance on page 1 of the filter, but you can see I'm using this to shape the kick, so I didn't really want to change that. Let's just go back to mod wheel again. And then amp reverb, you can really hear that come through as well. I don't think I've got anything on the breath controller. It's just on this mod wheel. So when I move this one, it doesn't really affect it. Let's go to the clap next. So with the clap on the mod wheel, I'm opening up synth decay, opening up the amp reverb, so sending more of the clap into the reverb. And we're also sending more of the clap into the delay as well, and that's creating that build-up effect. If we go into the breath controller, you can see we're adding even more reverb, opening up the synth decay even more so. And we're also affecting the clap synth space. So this space here, we're opening it up so the claps are further apart. So that's quite tight. And it's also to give it a bigger sound. When we change, this is like 2 different versions of the same pattern. So, and then when I bring this up, the synth sound changes and that clap sounds bigger. That was the idea, to get to a more intense idea of this pattern by using this second knob. So the next thing that we're going to look at is, I'll come to this one in a second because that's quite special and it's for the build-up and you can't hear it until I bring these up. So let's leave it out for now and just look at the main sounds of the pattern. So let's look at the synth next. So let's go into the mod wheel. So this one's pretty subtle, but you can see it opens up synth decay, adds more delay and more reverb for the build-up. And then if we go into the breath controller, in fact, I'm not even on the right channel here. Let me go back. So mod wheel, all we're doing is amp reverb, and we're doing filter bass. So that's taking away the low frequencies. Quite subtle. And then if we go into the breath controller, this is doing a lot more. So you can see it's opening up the filter envelope. It's also opening up the amp attack to create a softer start to the sound to each hit. And then we've got amp reverb, that's increasing. And you can see I'm counteracting what I'm doing here by bringing the amp volume down a bit to match the levels of this side and that side. And if I do both of them together, we get a little bit more reverb when I bring that up. So let's come out of that now and take a look at the hat. So let's go into the mod wheel. So pretty simple, a lot of amp reverb, a little bit of amp delay, just create more space and tension. And then with the second knob, you can see it opens up the synth decay. So we get like a more aggressive drum kit when we open this knob up. Don't forget we've got delay feedback. and reverb decay. So it's quite expressive. And then if we turn them off and take a look at this bass sound here. So if we go into the mod wheel, when I bring this one up, you can see all it does is it just turns the sound off. So previously I did do some other stuff with this, but I decided that what I really wanted to do on this build up is just turn that bass off. And then when I drop it back in, the bass comes back and it fills up the low end again. Let's see what else we've got. So let's talk about these build-up sounds now, which you can't hear until I bring this up. So I've got two. Let's focus on this first one. Let's go to mod wheel. All it's doing really is just bringing up the amp volume. And then let's just take a look at the breath controller. Nothing going on in there. Let's take a look at this sound. So this one on 11, you can see it brings up the amp volume. Also the amp decay and the filter frequency and the filter resonance. And then if we go into breath controller, we're just increasing the amp reverb. So I thought they were quite nice little additions for when you're creating the build-up. Just to add some more tension and weirdness. We've also got the classic clap fill that I do on every single track within my live set, on the Digitakt and also on the Syntakt as well. And it's just really simple to set that up. I've been through this before, but I'll just show you again. So if we go to the clap, you can see we've got claps on the 5 and 13, but we've also got claps on here as well. And if we hold one of these trigs down, you can see I've just set this to fill on the trig page. And if you've got record off, you can then always in time, which is great. So that brings us to the end of the Mega Macro tutorial. I hope you enjoyed that, and if there's any content you would like me to provide in the coming weeks, please let me know in the comments below, and I will do my very best to provide that content for you. If you are looking to join my courses, download my presets, sample packs, there are links in the video description below. If you see anything in the studio and you're like, where did he get that from? I'll also start to provide affiliate links as well as we start to do these videos more and more. So all of those things helps me by giving me a little bit of income so that I can provide more free content on YouTube and helps keep the channel running. I know I keep saying it, I've just got to do it, I've got to plug it, it's one of those things. So my name is James Orvis from Mix Hackers. Hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you next week.